Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Crafting with Critter. We're making a birch look wall sconce out of cardboard. What? Cardboard? Yep, check it out. Cardboard. So this is packing tape on cardboard. Sealed up all the edges and did all that fun stuff. That's just packing tape, regular, boring, dull packing tape. Now putting on my gloves here because I'm going to be working with some joint compound. And basically I don't want to get it all over me. So what we're doing here is we're just going to cover the entire front, pardon my ridiculously bad angle there, cover the entire front with a layer of joint compound. And now I'm going for a rugged, let's call it that, look. So the texture and everything I'm perfectly fine with. I'm not concerned about it. And all of the pieces and parts that I do want to tone down a little bit, I'm going to be sanding a little bit later on. So you see here that I'm just going around covering the whole thing with joint compound. And it's not a thin layer, but it certainly is, adequate. So it's dried overnight. You see my messy craft desk. And that's basically what it looks like. So after it gets done drying, I take it outside and I'm going to use my sanding block, 180 grit, so it's not too harsh and it won't take away too much of that texture. So just lightly going over it, getting all the craggly bits off the top, anything sharp, just making it look good. Where's my hand? Yeah, we all know how good I am at editing. So it's all sanded down. I'm pretty happy with it, with the way that it looks, and I'm not concerned about those little like divot holes. And now I'm going to cover it in primer. Primer, sconce, primer. Cover your primer, or cover your sconce in primer. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Shake it up, shake it up. You can see all the leaves on the ground in the background. The day before we had a really big windstorm and a thunderstorm, so there's still lots of leaves around. So just gonna go over the top of it with the primer. I chose white, obviously. And then we're gonna let the primer dry. I have it sitting outside because obviously spray paint and varnish and things like that are stinky. So I'm gonna cover the whole thing now that the primer is dried with matte white acrylic paint. And I chose white because that's the look that I was going for, is the birch. Uh, and we all know if we look at a birch tree or an aspen tree, they're generally white with brown accents. So here I am. Obviously, I figured you guys needed to learn how to paint something. And then I let it dry. So this is a piece of cardboard that I'm going to use on the front as sort of a decoration. I want to make like a leather band look that goes along the bottom of the sconce. So I'm just checking to see how much of it I need to paint. And then I'm going to run it along the edge of my table just to make it a little more malleable so it's not as stiff. It gives it a little more of that leather look, sort of distresses it, just a skosh. And you can see it's wiggly. Wiggle, wiggle. So now I'm going to paint this with Antiquing Wax by Folk Art. I like this. It's got a good tone to it. It gives it just a teeny bit of a shine. And there's my hand again. My hand. So we're going to use the antiquing wax and just paint it. Paint the top of it. and it gives it a really nice color, very leather-esque. And since I'm going for the whole birch look, I figured brown would be better than black. Just to everything goes together that way. And I'm just dabbing off a little bit of the extra, just to give it a little bit more texture, not as shiny, and to give the cardboard a little bit of that leather look, because, you know, leather does have texture, unless it's fake. Now I'm going to go in with some nutmeg brown, which is a little bit lighter than the antiquing wax. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over it lightly, make it very light. I have a dry brush, and I'm dabbing off the extra paint, and I'm just going to, like Bob Ross used to say, you know, 3 hairs and some air. Just very lightly go over the paint just to give it a very distressed look. And now I'm going to go in and just dab a little bit more on. Again, just to give it some color variation, because, you know, nothing natural is all one color. It's just like your hair, you know. So you can see how it turned out. And I think it turned out pretty good. Give it a little more light so you can see what it looks like. So it gives it that distressed look. Excuse me. And then we're going to let that dry. Now I'm going to go into the sconce itself with that antiquing wax again. And I'm going to take a tongue depressor, if you will, or just a craft stick that I got from the Dollar Tree, I think. And just I poured a little bit of the antiquing wax in the lid. And I'm just going to take that and run it along very lightly the edges of the sconce, just to give it, you know, a little more depth, make it look more like wood, you know. So the edges look like the edge of wood. So I'm going to go around all of the edges, sides, top, the lip of the little pouch, and make sure that I get all of that taken care of. So you can see the side there, and it's not perfect. It's not meant to be. Nothing in life is perfect. So everything looks more natural if it's not perfect. So once I get all of those edges done, what I'm going to do is go through with my dry brush again and that antiquing wax, and just very lightly go over the whole surface, just so it highlights all the little bumps that are raised up. So it's not complete coverage, but it does give it more of a natural look to it. And it highlights those little raised points and gives it a lot more depth, a lot more dimension. Makes it look a little better. And now I've got my craft stick again, and I'm making lines down. And I made 3 total. And what these lines are is to make it look like strips of wood. Like it's not just one big thing. This actually gives it some character and makes it look like it's several different pieces of wood that were put together. And you can see just by making those lines in it, and with the variation of texture and everything, it really is starting to look more like pieces of wood. So I've got my paper towel here, and I'm just going over those lines very slightly, very gently, gingerly, if you will, just to smudge them out just a little bit to make it look not quite so stark, not like, hi, I'm a line, you know. It makes it look a little bit more natural, gives it a little bit more depth, more dimension, and just, I think it just makes it look nicer, you know, so it's not quite so stark. And you'll see that I'm texturizing. Well, you can't really see that one because I'm off camera, but you'll get the idea here in a second. Those little holes that the joint compound made when it dried, because it collapsed just a little bit, I'm not worried about those. What I'm doing is I'm actually accenting them to make it look like the divots and holes and knots and everything that are naturally in wood. So I'm going over those, and then I'm going to blend those out a little bit so they're not quite so stark, and make it look like a nice piece of wood art. And I'm going to go back over it with my paper towel and just blend those out. Make it look like it's supposed to be there. That's right. It's supposed to be there. So that looks good. Now, after I get done with all of this, I am going to go over it and just measure my little band, see how far I need to go, grabbing my glue gun, and cover the back of that strip with hot glue. And that way we can stick it onto our sconce to make it look like it's got a leather band running down or across the bottom of it. I just hold it there real good just to make sure that it's stuck on there really well. I'm checking on it, make sure, yeah, okay, it's even. Yay! So squish, squish, squish. And you can use finger protectors if you want to. I don't, because, you know, so many years of being a chef and whatnot, I pretty much have asbestos fingers at this point. So what I'm going to do now is flip it over the back, and you can see cardboard. And I'm going to wrap the edges of that brown band around the back, so it looks like it's actually going around the entire sconce. So it's not just cut off on the sides and it looks kind of wonky. So there you go. Oop, get rid of that little speck. Now I go over this entire thing with some clear varnish, just to make sure that it is all sealed up. And I have some thumbtacks here and some of these little stickers that come from the Dollar Tree, and my iridescent gold paint. What I'm going to do is I am going to dab paint lightly the stickers and 2 of those thumbtacks. Now I used 4 of those little strips. Once they were done, ta-da! And that's how it turned out. And I really like the way that this sconce turned out. I think that it looks nice, it looks rustic, it looks quasi-real. You can see I kind of went over the lines with a little bit of that iridescent gold, just the slightest little nugget, and then I hung a jute cord on the back of it so I can hang it up and use it as a wall sconce. And here you go. I put some flowers in it, seasonal flowers, so you can see what it looks like. And I think it turned out really cute. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You can follow me on social media at I'm RevCritter. And we'll see you again for the next time. Thank you so much. And yeah, take care.